Food in England is interesting. There are many great things about England. And the British food is probably lower on that list of great things. That doesn't mean they're not great cooks. It's just the type of food that is very British, it's more plain than other foods. A lot of potatoes, a lot of vegetables, and it's great, but very plain. But there were also some English dishes that I loved. Their roasted potatoes just are to die for. I wish we had them more here in America, but I love their roasted potatoes. I love their desserts. Their trifles are to die for, and fish and chips is always a good option as well. England brings probably the best out of the cultural foods, especially the Indian foods, and the Chinese food is great there. The foods from South America are pretty good as well. Just awesome foods from every culture. English people, they love this snack called sausage rolls, and I never fell in love with them, but they're just basically a sausage or a little hot dog type thing in a little biscuit. And they love them. They die for them. And I had a lot of friends who served there, and they were just like, yeah, we love them now. I was like, mate, I don't know where you got that love from, because I don't love sausage rolls. They're okay. But they also have a dish called toad in a hole, which is sausage in this baked, breaded dish. They love sausage for some reason. And so there's a lot of sausage in England that you'll find. There's an old saying about England and America, and it's two nations separated by one language. And I think that's true in a lot of ways. Obviously, they speak English in England. It originated there. But there are a lot of subtleties and differences that make it interesting and really fun. When you think about all the different accents in America, there are a few big differences, maybe in the South or in the Northeast and then over in the West. But just imagine all of those differences maybe escalated a little bit and then shrunk into one tiny area called England. And that's how it is. If you go up to Manchester, you're going to get a different accent than Liverpool or over in York, which are all the places in the north. And then you come down south, you go to Cornwall, you have a different accent from London, different accent from Essex, and it's just very different accents all across the board. And some of the words they use are very different as well. The first few that I heard were rubbish, trash, and waste aren't super common. It's the rubbish bin, and you throw your rubbish in the bin. Or on cars, instead of the hood and the trunk, there's the boot, which is the trunk, and the bonnet, which is the hood. One of the ones that I've kept up is cheers. We say cheers for thank you, and then the way that you respond to cheers is you just say, you're all right, just don't worry about it. But you're all right can also be a greeting, and that was the one that kind of threw me for a loop. We'd meet people on the street and they're like, you're all right. You're just like, yeah, I'm okay. Is everything okay? But I got the hang of it, and eventually I'd just say, you're all right, and they'd respond, you're all right, and then that's communication in England. And that was fun to get used to. I still say it to people, and they're like, yeah, sure. And it's just fun to think about. Everyone calls each other mates instead of hey man or sup dude. It's hey mate or you're all right bruv. That's a common one for us to hear, especially in Essex. And in Essex, they have a very laid-back accent. Things are very chill, and the accents are very different from a proper London accent that you would think about. If we were to ask a question, we'd be like, how are you doing? But in England, it kind of goes up and over, like, you doing all right? And can I go to the store? And I came back and said that to my mom, and she thought it was so weird. And I used the word toilet because that's, at least in London, that's a very common word. Up in the north, they use more of loo, or the WC, the water closet. But I would ask my mom, can I go to the toilet? And she's like, ew, Richard, no. First of all, don't use toilet. And second of all, don't ask it like that. And I was like, sorry. But that was just something I had to get used to, that Americans were very different. The R's are softer, the T's are more pronounced. I came back speaking differently. I feel like I'm speaking differently now thinking about it. I'm not the best at accents, but someone in London might say, you doing all right? Are you going to pop around the shop later? And then someone in Essex might say, you all right, bruv? You going to pop around the shop later, mate? And that's just kind of to the extremes that you might see in the London area. I'm going to the store later, mate. My laddie. I'm going around to the store later. That's Scottish, kind of. My Scottish friends are going to hate me for that, but we'll see. South Kensington. It was just beautiful. The architecture was phenomenal. The sites were just incredible. It was right next to the chapel's on the same street as the Natural History Museum, the Science Museum, the Victoria and Albert Museum, which is probably England's premier art museum. It's right across the street from the Royal Albert Hall, which is one of the most famous performing venues in England, the Royal College of Music. and also across the street from Imperial College, which is one of the top ranked universities in the world. So it's just a very high profile street. The street is entirely made of, I think it's granite, just really pretty, really beautiful. Everything there is expensive. Just down the street is the Lamborghini dealership. So we see Lamborghinis all the time. Ferrari dealerships around the corner as well. Just a really fun place to be. There's an area called Holborn in Russell Square. I don't know if you've seen this TV show called Sherlock, the one with Benedict Cumberbatch, but it starts off in this park. And I remember I was watching it with one of my companions and we're like, that's Russell Square! That's just a little taste of what London's like.